Which of you two is actually more competitive?
We know the answer to this. As a kid, I always felt really bad that I was never as good at chess as her.
She was like this cool, popular girl in high school.
I was not popular.
Yes, you, compared to me?
So Alex was the popular chess girl.
Popular chess girl is such an oxymoron.
But now look where I got you. Like, you are the popular chess girl. Like,
What's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you during the day?
Oh, the guy next to me.
oh God.
Did you ever have a nemesis?
Yes.
Who's your nemesis?
Her name was...
Yeah, what's she doing now?
I have no idea. So I guess I won. I just started feeling really depressed and not fulfilled, even when the numbers would be good or I'd do something that sounded good on paper. And I realized that
when I was in poker, I knew that it would be a competitive advantage for me to lean into like the winner. But at the same time, I had this conflict inside me.
It was so ingrained to me to appeal to like the male gaze that I was doing it so subconsciously. And I acknowledge I would not even have any career without my looks.
Likelihood that he used anal beads, 100.
Thanks for joining me.
thanks for having us.
So yeah, this is a podcast about competition primarily. And so that's mostly what I want to dig in with you guys today about. And to start us off, I have to ask the question, which of you two is actually more competitive?
We know the answer to this.
I feel like I'm more competitive.
She's definitely more competitive.
Really?
I've come to the conclusion, because when I was younger, it was really frustrating for me. Like, our dad had a graph of our chess ratings on the fridge, and there was one moment when I passed, and then all downhill from there. And as a kid, I always felt really bad that I was never as good at chess as her. I didn't get into Stanford. But then I realized my strength is creativity, and I'm not as passionate about getting rating or points. And Alex definitely has dad's genes. They're both hardcore gamers. Dad loves poker. So I will give that one to her because she deserves it.
I'll take it.
So wait, you had ratings of each of you on the fridge, and this was like a thing?
Every age, every year of your life, where you were.
So as a way to actually show you, like, this is the benchmark you need to be hitting.
Yeah, it was not super healthy, but
Romanian.
It was only there for a year. But my dad would definitely try to use me to motivate Andrea.
Which it works in some sense, but I don't think it worked for chess.
Why not?
Well, I think the main, now looking back on it, I just don't think I was ever as passionate about chess as my sister was. Like, she really loved playing tournaments, and for me it was just like, this is my gateway into college. I have to play, but I didn't really enjoy studying, and I was really depressed playing chess tournaments. But Alex had a great time competing, so we just had very different childhoods when it came to chess.
Although I've also reflected back, and I think a big reason why I liked chess is because I needed to be good at something, and it was just the thing that I was best at. Like, I almost like chess more just for some easy to track progress than for the game itself, which is a little dark.
Interesting. Yeah, 'cause that's the thing I was sort of reflecting back when I was a kid, because I was so competitive as well, right? I had to be. I remember, like, when it would be, we'd find out who the end of the year, the tests, you know, what we got in science or geography or whatever the exam was, and not only did I care about what my score was, you know, my grade, but I had to know what the other girls got. I mean, I went to an all-girls school, so it was only girls I could compete against, but had to know what everyone else got. And thinking about it, my dad would often ask me, he's like, okay, so what did you get? Oh, I got 89. He's like, okay, that's good. What was the highest score in the class? And it was that, I'm not looking back on it, I'm like, is that healthy or is it not?
That's the question I was wondering too. Our dad definitely did the same. Like, you'd come home with an A, he's like, well, but who got the A plus?
Or
the same.
A 99? Why is it not 100?
Yeah, that was exactly our parents' mentality as well.
Well, that one feels slightly less, because that makes you compete against yourself, which I think that if I had to like try and summarize what is healthy versus unhealthy competition, it's like, it's healthy when you use it as, when you look against versions of yourself and you're like, okay, I can do better. I mean, I guess actually what's healthy is when you're having fun. I think that's the most important thing. Like, am I still having fun being competitive? Okay, yes. But it's when, like, I noticed when I was feeling like icky about my competitiveness, it was when I would see I was always comparing against like other perceived rivals. So it sounds like you guys were encouraged to somewhat be rivals from a young age.
Well, Andrea was quite a bit younger, so it
7 years, right?
6.5, close enough. If anyone asks, we're 2 years apart. But
People think we're twins all the time, so it doesn't matter. But yes.
No, but I think it didn't feel like competition for me because she was so much younger. I had such a head start that I was like, she'll never catch me. But when I saw that graph, that 1 year she was better than when I was at her age, it did make me sweat and panic a little bit, honestly.
I always saw Alex as a role model, like, in everything. So she was always a person I looked up to, which was great. I think she has been my greatest role model. So it was never someone like I'm competing against her. So
Yeah, and I didn't see it like that either because the age gap was large.
I think if we were like within 2 years, it would have been
more relevant because you could have actually directly played against each other.
School years, like we never saw each other in school because she was always in high school and I was in middle, and college when I was in high school. So different story.
Do you think it's a common ingredient of all great chess players that they were from a young age had parents who were very, let's say, encouraging, to put it politely?
I think definitely, and also that they were very competitive because at the end of the day you have to put in so many hours into chess and you have to be fiercely competitive to keep wanting to improve.
Did you like see chess as like when you were going out as let's say when did you start actually playing in tournaments, both of you?
I think when I was 7 or 8, same for Andrea.
This tournament was 6 or 7.
And did you see it as like, oh, this is a fun pursuit I do? Like you were playing for the love of the game, or it's just like, were you not old enough to really realize it was just like, this is our lives?
I was not old enough to realize. I would just show up at chess and I don't remember being too stressed. Even when I like won the first national tournament I competed in, I didn't really think much of it.
Chess was like such an inherent part of our lives. Like I remember just like my first memories are like my dad teaching our chess club in Canada, Alex always going to tournaments. It was just something as a kid you'd do, you'd go, and you didn't really know what was happening, but you're like, oh, if I win nationals, I get free pasta at a tournament in Greece and we're staying at an all-inclusive hotel.
Although I do remember when I won my first national tournament and I was on this like local newspaper, my coach came to me as an 8-year-old and he said, it's easy to get to the top. It's hard to stay on top. And I remember that spooked me a bit, and then that was the first moment when I started realizing, oh shoot, this is gonna be a lot harder than I thought.
I mean, that's so interesting that's like you remember that from that age. Like that's a core memory.
That was a core memory.
Wow. How was your relationship with other kids on the tour, right? Because presumably you make friends with kids of your own age group.
So we had somewhat different experiences. For me, we moved from Canada when I was 13 and I got really isolated and just really honestly didn't feel like I made truly close friends until I got to college. So then chess was sort of my escape and most of my closest friends were chess players. Whereas for Andrea, she was like this cool, popular girl in high school.
I was not popular.
Yes, you compared to me?
So Alex was the popular chess girl, as in like she dated the chess players. She would travel. She was really a hit at the chess. But
popular chess girl is such an oxymoron.
But now look where it got you. Like you are the popular chess girl. Like we are where we are because you took that and made it like, you know, a business. But in high school, I really wanted to dance and I loved music and art. And it's funny speaking to my parents now because they would never encourage it. They were always like, you have to play chess because you're never going to be as good at music or dancing as you are at chess. And now my dad kind of regrets it because now I'm actually doing stuff with music. But as a kid, when people would ask me what I would do, like I'd always be like, I'm at a dance tournament, I'm not at a chess tournament. Just because I didn't really bond with any chess players, which has changed as an adult, which is really nice. But as a kid, I never felt like it was my world. So very different stories.
Did you, how was it when, so you say you did have, you know, friends, they were kind of your only friends.
It was the nerdy kids, I admit. It's fine. We got along. We all cared about the right things.
How was it when you would play against them?
Well, I wouldn't play against, I wouldn't often compete against my friends in chess. I guess I had one close friend. I didn't like playing against my friends, but I had to sometimes. So like when I won U.S. Girls Nationals, I had to play against one of my best friends in chess and beat her. But, you know, there's a full ride scholarship on the line. You do what has to get done.
Whoa. How, like, did it create any tension between you guys as a friendship?
No, honestly, everybody understood that at the chessboard, there are no friends.
Right, so you actually knew that from a young age. Because people often, it's a question I get asked as like a poker player, like, wait, you win money. Sometimes you end up at the same table as your best friend and you're literally going after each other, bluffing each other, trying to wind each other up, put them on tilt to win.
When I was a kid, I would ask my dad if I can offer draws to my friends, but like eventually the stakes got so high that I couldn't do that anymore. So I grew out of it at like 10.
Wow. Did you ever have a nemesis? Either of you?
Yes.
Who was your nemesis?
Her name was Miriam Roy. She was this girl who was really good at chess, and we'd always be competing in the same tournaments, and she was the only one who I felt like could give me a real run for my money. But then she stopped playing, so.
Yeah, what's she doing now?
I have no idea. So I guess I won.
My nemesis was a boy, because there was only one other kid at my chess club who was in high school who was also ranking in the top. And then he ended up going to Stanford for chess. That was my dream school that I applied 3 years and got rejected. And then I came to Stanford recently to film as a YouTuber, to film some videos. And then I ran into him and I was like, I'm actually happy that I don't feel like this was my place. But it was very funny because I remember as a kid, like I was so upset about it. But now it was actually very cool to see him at Stanford, and just a different life.
So you wanted to go to Stanford. What did you end up doing? You did end up doing this full time, right?
So when we started officially streaming together, I would always make appearances when I was like 15. But right when the pandemic began, Alex came home, obviously because we had a quarantine, and she was streaming, and I graduated senior year a couple months early because all the schools got shut down. I was supposed to go to University of Toronto, but then everything was online, started streaming, so we're like, you know what, this is going well, let's see where it's at. Let's take one gap year, because what's the point of doing online school for your first year? We did one gap year. We're like, this is kind of going really well. And so then we moved to Austin to do one more. And I was like, I like Austin. I applied here in Austin at UT Business Honors. I got in. I was like, great, I'm going to live in Austin with my sister, stream, go to business school. That's the dream. 1 year later, we're like, actually, we want to move to LA because we want to be bigger than Twitch. We want to be YouTube. So I'm like, okay, I applied to UCLA. I got into UCLA. I'm like, I'm going to go to school in LA. By the third year, I'm like, I'm not going to school. So I never went to college.
My mom wasn't happy about it at first, but she's now accepted it.
You are doing applied business. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like you go to business school to learn how to do business, or you can just do business from a young age.
I completely agree, but our parents are
well, they wanted
old
us to do
school
STEM.
Eastern
That's the
European
difference.
immigrants.
Yeah. They wanted engineers and doctors when we did not give them that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Igor will mind me saying, like, he was, his parents moved out just as the Berlin Wall was falling out of Soviet Russia, got them, better life in Germany. They can go and get good education. And then Igor, final year of math, he's amazing at math, but he was making so much money playing poker. He's like, every day that I don't do this, I'm just like, and I would get an entry-level job if I graduate for like a fraction of what I'm earning. He's like, this makes no sense. I'm doing applied math already. But to this day, even after he's like gone and had these crazy jobs, worked for Elon, his mum's still like, so when are you going to go back and finish your degree? When you made the decision to become full-time streamers and then YouTubers, what were your parents' reaction? Like, was that like a specific conversation you had to have?
So I had finished Stanford. I had worked on a startup for 3 years, and the startup had failed. And instead of going to get a real job, I told my parents I'm moving to New York and I'm going to stream chess online. So my mom was like, I can't believe she wasted her degree on this. And she would say that her friends would ask what I'm doing, and she would just lie and say I'm a consultant. So they were very, very confused.
But you also have to think like where they're coming from. Romanian immigrants who fled communist Romania, worked multiple jobs just to get their degree and to have us. Yeah. Even now, they understand it more, and we've been doing it for so many years. And I remember being in high school when Alex started streaming, and it's just like a lack of understanding. Mom be like, your sister's just playing chess on the internet. And it's obviously so much more, but like, it took me, and I was like a young kid who grew up with the internet so many years to be like, oh, this is the point of this.
Yeah, but honestly, it was not just them. Like even our investors from our old startup, he said, you know, you have to get a real job eventually. And my friends from college were like, you're just playing chess now. So I felt like that's why I actually moved from the Bay Area, because I was like, nobody's going to get this. It's so insane that if it doesn't work, I'm going to look like an idiot.
What is it about games that you love so much? Or is that a non-question?
I love games personally. And for me, it's completely engulfs my focus, and I enter a flow state and it feels incredible. And I also I like winning. So when I'm losing at a game, I don't like it as much.
It's funny because, like, my relationship with games is something like I've put a lot of thought and like really had to come to terms. And same with Alex, obviously. Everyone loves when you're winning. I definitely had less wins. And now I can understand the flow state, which for me, I've been able to find that with music. Like when it's the first thing in my life that I can work on like 8 hours in a row, and I'm just like, it's just such a magical feeling. And I don't know if I really felt that with chess, just because I was always so distracted. Like even when I was really focused on a goal, I don't know if it was just maybe I wasn't as passionate about chess or maybe just a different way. But now that I've experienced an actual flow state with something that I know I'm really passionate about, I don't know if I ever experienced it with chess. But I definitely enjoyed for me, yeah, I liked the entertainment value of games. Like when it came to playing chess, I love, like, as soon as you can bring in conversations and dynamics and just everything else, but you don't really have that in regular competitive chess. But we did once we built our own world around chess.
Can you describe a little bit more of what this flow state is for you?
Well, I am very ADHD, and it's very hard for me to hyperfixate on one thing, which never happens in a chess. Like, sure, you're sitting there thinking 5 hours, but you're thinking about a move, you start thinking what you're gonna do tomorrow, what you're gonna have for lunch, then you have to bring yourself back, and it feels like you're constantly in a battle with yourself to try to get yourself to focus on something. But let's say I'm preparing a DJ set for Berlin, and I'm just like going through my music, I'm gridding it, I'm cueing it, I'm doing transitions. For me, it's just something that comes naturally, and like all the ideas, like I feel like I'm in a very creative zone and I don't have to force any out of ideas. And I also just naturally don't think about anything else. Like I'm so engulfed in what I'm doing. And like once I reach it, I can build the entire set in like a couple hours. Whereas if it's like a day where I'm not exactly there, I can spend triple amount the time and it's like way less productive just because like I don't feel extremely creative. But I don't know, it has to be different with chess. I don't know.
For me, I just lose track of time. So like I would sometimes just play chess on the internet, even not streaming. 5 hours have passed and I feel like it's an hour and I just entered a different state.
So it sounds like the common thread is that you just, like it's like a different state of time, a different state of consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're just so engrossed.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting, the way you describe how you feel when you're playing, when you're DJing, it sounds like you're not using your logical brain anymore, right?
It feels like it's a different part of my brain.
Intuition or something?
I don't even know, like that's why music has been so cool because, and it's not even like, it's not the live performance. So like I will spend 3 weeks preparing for one live performance. Like the way I approach DJing is very different from everyone else. And I think it's also my strength why I was able to like grow very quickly. And I kind of treat it like a chess match. I like to have every transition planned, and the whole thing about DJing is playing for the crowd. I'm like, no, I'm there to give them a show and a story. I want the entire track list, and it takes hours to do that. So you're on a music software and like you're just going through your thousands of songs and like kind of whatever comes naturally to you, and then seeing what lines up. And I like thinking of it as a puzzle because I'll have like in my head, I want to start with this dark dramatic emotion, then I want to go high energy, then I want to change genres, and it's like I have the journey, but then I have to put all the tracks together, which once you get in the nitty gritty of DJing, whatever. But the puzzle solving of music is actually really fun, which I do feel like there were some parallels to the same puzzle solving in chess. But it's kind of hard to explain.
What's the difference between a puzzle and a game in both of you?
Good question.
Because I feel like I can tell like there's a tangible difference, but it's actually interesting to try and define.
I feel like games have multiple puzzles in them, and it includes other things as well.
Puzzle for me just feels like a structure you have to solve and come to like kind of one end conclusion. But a game, there's so many different outlets that you can win a game. Maybe chess, like not necessarily you have a crazy tactic. Maybe you're just playing solid moves all the time. So there's different outlets to win.
And I guess obviously the biggest difference between like the puzzle of DJing and the game of chess is that there's a clear finite goal with chess, right? Or same with poker or whatever. And it's classically a zero-sum thing, right? One of you wins the point, one of you doesn't. Whereas DJing, it's purely, that's why it's so interesting, because it's actually very like positive sum. It's very win-win in that it's like, how big of a thing can I make? You can play an okay set and people will have an okay time, or you can play an amazing set and people have the best time ever. But it's much harder to quantify.
That's exactly what like completely changed my perspective to how I was approaching my sets, because every DJ, it's improv. Like they play shows every other day. They just go in there, load their USB, pick stuff. But I'm like, I want to have it all predetermined and mostly solved before. And like working on my set with an end goal just completely changed the way that I would think of my sets. So like actually trying to have it solved before I go made the process so different for me. Like, what is your flow state from a DJ now?
So there was a period of time where poker would be a nice flow state for me, certainly early on when I first started playing the game and I was in love with it. But and we've talked about this before and I want to dig into that with you. There was at some point where it was after I'd won like my first big major, the EPT, I found it harder and harder to get into that flow state. And it was more like I was sort of just going through the motions of like, okay, this is my job now. Yep. I have to perform. I've got my sponsorship patch on, and it was no longer really a puzzle or something. So now what is my flow state? Honestly, my flow state now is writing. I haven't been actually posting that much, but I've just started doing more writing. The most flow state I was ever in was when I made that Moloch film, where I locked myself in.
I can tell it was something you're so passionate about.
Yeah, and I mean, I literally, I made it in a garden shed in the house we were staying in Oxford at the time. It was like freezing cold. That was the only place I had like silence. And I just went mad in this little shed making this thing, every single bit. But it was the most fun. Yes. Like a whole month went by, or however long I was in there, 3 weeks. Igor would be like, I would disappear off some point in the morning, and then I would crawl in at like night, and he was like, okay, good, you're still alive. And I'd have like the contacts in, looking crazy, like dressed as this creature. But that was, I think, the most flow I've ever been. It was just like lost in the creative process. And I want to figure out how to hack that for more stuff.
What you said about poker, it just, exactly what you were saying. Like as soon as you brought sponsors, my favorite creative is Rick Rubin. I listen to all of his podcast episodes, and he did an episode with the Daily Stoic where he was talking about coming back to your initial intention when starting something, and how the greatest death for an artist is as soon as you start doing it not for yourself and for other people, which is impossible once you've tasted success. Like when you're a writer and you're making a book, if you're thinking about how you're going to market it and everything else, you need to first write the story for yourself, and then once the story is done, you can go through that second lens. And very much same with music. Like the first DJ set I made, it was so magical, and then it went viral. I tasted success. I tried to recreate what went, and like I completely stopped enjoying it. It felt like a job, felt like a chore. You wouldn't get lost into it, but like especially that zone you were in on your Moloch video, because it's the first time you're doing something, it's your idea, it's for no one because it's never been done before really, and that's just so special, and it's so easy to lose that as soon as it turns into a job. And like that's something I bet with games, I bet with music, people experience with writing.
I struggle that with content, and
exactly.
Honestly, I think my own competitive drive sometimes hijacks me because I just care way too much, and I've learned how to reel it in over the years, because at some point, even with content, it becomes a competition where you're just trying to get more numbers or more views. And I've come to the conclusion that that is the wrong way to do it. And ultimately, like, I need to be enjoying the process and doing it for the right reasons versus that. So it's been something that I've been trying to retrain my brain in and calm that inner fiend. Because
I see it myself, and then I see her and we're thinking an idea. And then she starts thinking of, oh, but how are we going to announce this? What platform is it? I'm like, wait, you haven't finished the idea. Don't let yourself start thinking about the packaging when you haven't even, you're already restricting yourself and putting yourself through a different filter.
Has there ever been a point where you guys did feel like you were getting stagnant in your content?
Yes, this last year.
All the time.
This year has been, for me personally, the hardest year in content. And we tried doing multiple transitions. So at the start of the year, we were streaming like 4 times a week, maybe 5 times a week. And we switched to streaming like once a month or 3 weeks of every 2 months and changing our content. So we just have been pivoting a lot, and our content numbers, you know, I still stress about them a lot. They're not where I would like them to be, but that's not what I'm as excited about anymore, because I think it's the wrong focus and it's very short-term thinking.
Right. So it's like the tyranny of metrics, I like to call it. Like, that's the problem with metrics. Can be useful, and that they're like a way to sort of know if you're kind of on the right track, but it's as soon as a measure becomes the goal, it ceases to be a good measure.
Yes.
So how did you train yourself? Because I mean, I'm struggling with this right now. Even like doing this podcast, I was telling you about like, oh, the numbers aren't doing what I feel like it should be doing. This is important. And then I get like despondent and kind of like self-loathing and like, well, what's the point? How do you train that out of yourself? Is it just that you reach a certain threshold? Is it like a gratitude thing? You look back and go, well, look, I did achieve this, or?
Mine is kind of dark. I just started feeling really depressed and not fulfilled, even when the numbers would be good or I'd do something that sounded good on paper. And I realized that when I was just chasing these metrics of success, like winning a chess tournament or getting a lot of views, even when I hit it, I wouldn't feel fulfilled. So I thought, this is the wrong metric. It's much more play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And eventually I just felt so bad. I was like, okay, I need to change it and align with my inner self. What about you, Andrea?
Oh, it's so sad.
It's true, though.
This has been recently something that I've been putting a lot of thought into. And like, I completely separate when I'm in my creative zone and when I'm in my analytical, like, okay, assessing the content for what is. And for example, if I was doing a podcast, I would think, okay, genuinely, what is the thing I want to get out of this episode? Not thinking anything about what I think people will click on or what people want me to talk about. First, I make the content for myself. And when you're brainstorming, I just try to feel like I'm in a safe zone, which is so hard. Like, I come up with my best ideas when I'm not in my office and I'm anywhere, like in a plane or like stuck in Sweden or just anywhere where I don't feel like all these external factors are influencing my thoughts. And then after that, when it comes to, okay, now I actually have to think how this is successful, then maybe I'll have like a session where I'm like running A/B tests on our YouTube, looking at different titles, looking at what other people are doing, but that's not when I'm brainstorming. Brainstorming and the analysis just has to be 2 different, even places.
And so you do it different places. And do you literally plan out your week? Like, today is a brainstorming day and this is an
the hardest thing.
We're
so bad at that. It's honestly like the reason I go to Europe to work on music, and even for content I have a lot of my best ideas, is it's so hard at home. Because that's funny, my other ADHD friends staying us were telling me how ADHD people compartmentalize spaces with what you're doing. So let's say you have an office and you work there, but you've also done other things there and you play and you have fun. It's hard for your brain to untrain that. So for me, being in like in a foreign environment, whether it's like at a coffee shop or at nature in a different country, I need to be in a different space. So I can't even do that when I'm at home, because we do so many things in our house. We're filming, we're brainstorming, we're hanging out. Our house is our office. So I think for me, it comes down to the space, not the time, but I don't know if that's the right answer.
For me, I've tried putting in a less rigid structure recently. I read this book on why success cannot be predetermined, and it talks about how, like, in our society we always tie what we're doing to an objective, but maybe it's not always correct to have an objective, and at some point you need to allow space for playful discovery. And because I think I've been just trained most of my life to be kind of like a robot who's like, achieve this, do whatever it takes. I sort of stopped giving myself space to actually figure out what I want to do and also explore different ideas. So that has been my recent attempt.
How much has audience capture been a struggle for you guys?
Big difficulty right now, because a lot of our audience on YouTube is chess focused. And if you do want to work in different niches, you start a different channel. Andrea has her DJ channel. I tried doing a poker channel, which was very helpful for at least growing a poker audience. So it is something we're currently trying to figure out.
I think Yeah, I mean, it's a deadly trap that like all of us fall in. For example, chess. We had this one format that would go viral every time, which is like us playing hustlers in the park. Same title, thumbnail, you put a catchy one-liner, they're insulting you, you beat them. We did that, and we did that idea for like 2 years in a row, and it was so, and at some point you're just like, it's not even doing that well. And maybe for people, it's like, you're totally not doing it for yourself. It's such a soulless action. So I've been so aware of to try to not fall in the same trap where you're just doing the same, because you have to notice as soon as you're losing passion for something. And also the content just loses quality as soon as you can tell you're not really in it.
But that's the thing. I think we stopped doing, if the videos were still getting millions of views, I think we'd still be in the trap, because like you can sacrifice, or at least I can sacrifice not liking something if it's doing well, or at least I could in the past. But when you don't like it and it's not doing well, it's a lot easier to
jump
be like,
out.
Okay, I'm done.
Hi, pardon the quick interruption, but just to let you know that unfortunately the audio quality from here on out is going to be a bit worse because these stupid microphones decided to just all turn off for no apparent reason, which means we have to use like ambient audio. So apologies for the decrease in audio quality, but do stick around because this conversation just keeps getting better and better and better. It's worth the tinniness.
I think it really depends on the content, because what I learned about it is you need to find your niche. And although ours was chess content, I feel like our strengths were our personality and like our conversations. So when I kind of figure out what do I think I'm best at when people enjoy, then I try to put it in like, oh, this is actually can also be really interesting in vlogs and in podcasts and things maybe outside of just the same one-off chess matches. So finding like the niche of what you're doing well, but then also figuring out how to use your strengths in a different format, maybe completely different out of the box activity as well. I have a question for you. If it was just you doing what you want for you, where do you think you would come to?
If you thought of your podcast from first principles,
Yes.
would it have been different?
Yes.
This is a very good point. I think I would think about what I would find entertaining.
Yes.
Actually, what would make me be like, this is
Exactly.
I cannot miss this. This is something I've never seen before that speaks to me deeply. What would like, oh shit, yes, there's a new episode.
Yeah.
And it's like everything goes on pause. That's what I would do, and I haven't done that. I've been trying to think of what other people would like, or what
is
other,
one of those topics, or do you have any in mind, or can I just come back to it later?
Well, actually, because
I'd be curious what you would find personally in here, and that's exactly what it should be.
I mean, people who have successfully solved coordination problems in like big areas, because that's like my passion area. Like,
can you define a coordination problem?
So like
noobs, not for me.
So the example I always go to is like these beauty filters on Instagram.
Oh, don't get me started on those.
Right,
Yeah.
like we're all as women feel like we know that everyone else is using them.
Yes.
So we feel that like need to, to keep up with the Joneses essentially, and yet they make you feel miserable.
Yep.
Right, you hate. Right, at least for me,
sometimes they
do
don't
the
look
side
better
by side
than them. Yeah,
Right.
it's looking worse.
Right, but generally they give you a competitive advantage, but they don't make you feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone's doing it anyway, so you kind of have to. And so I think if we could, all influencers would like coordinate and be like, let's just agree, let's do a pact, we won't use these.
Yeah.
We'll just stick with makeup. We'll all agree this is it. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But we can't all coordinate because there's hundreds of thousands or millions of influencers at this point. And there's always the incentive to be the like person who defects and like secretly uses them.
Yeah.
And so that coordination never happens. That's a classic example of a coordination problem. And that's what Moloch is like the god of. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of what inspired me to like create this, was like, first of all, what is the inverse of Moloch? Moloch is the god of lose-lose.
Yeah.
Well, what's the god of win-win? I couldn't get beyond win-win. But, what are the different mechanisms we can design such that games we play don't end up with that, aren't vulnerable to those kind of dynamics.
And do you know any examples where a coordination problem has been solved?
One of the best examples is the ozone layer. So back in, it's probably a bit before you guys' time, but like when I was growing up, it was like, we're all going to die because the ozone layer is getting depleted, people are polluting, with CFCs, but like CFCs are so cheap and easy to use, like how will we ever coordinate to get everyone to stop, countries to stop using them? But then this thing called the Montreal Protocol was created, and it basically was like a law that was like, you can't use these. And luckily, the thing that really coincided with it, that wouldn't have been sufficient by itself. at the same time, there was an innovation made that basically was as good as CFCs, but without the pollution. So it was that sort of 1-2 punch of like,
Got it.
a law or a regulation, so like
Yeah.
the sort of the stick saying no, you can't do that, the negative incentive, and then also the positive incentive of actually we have a really good innovation essentially. That solved the problem for a period of time, although I last checked, the ozone layer is now in the shit again a little bit, but there's plenty of other ones to worry about. But we managed to coordinate through kind of control, like
It makes sense that it needed a solution, an alternative that was just as
Right.
good.
Yeah.
It's like for the beauty filter example, you know, if everyone could magically make themselves look like they wanted, they wouldn't need them. But I guess you can't actually find the innovation in certain areas.
yeah, I mean exactly. But if there was a vitamin you could take,
Yeah.
it just like makes you the like glowingest, youngest looking version of yourself. But,
Your happiest version.
That's why everyone's getting their BBLs now, and like people are just gonna keep thinking they're upgrading, and where's that gonna take us? Who knows?
Yeah.
But
yeah, like what's it? Have you guys like felt? So actually, that's a topic I want to get into. Is like being females in the sort of competitive world of both social media and also games. How has that manifested for you guys in terms of like? Because for me, like as a when I was in poker, I knew that it would be a competitive advantage for me to lean into like the way I look.
of course, yeah.
I would not have had the career I had I not been a girl. But at the same time, I would feel I'd have this conflict inside me of being like, am I, at the same time, I respect myself as a player. I know I could be an amazing poker player. If I'm putting too much energy into this part of the game, then that comes at a sort of cost of this. So how have you guys like tried to navigate that?
I used to have big issues with it. Like before I was on social media, some chess photos of me would go viral, and I'd feel so disgusted because I know they'd go viral for the wrong reasons. But now I've sort of come to it similar with poker. You play the hand you've been dealt. Some people are extremely funny. Some people are extremely smart. As a female, you can stand out for different reasons. So I said, okay, well then I should lean into it because I'm going to have to deal with the negative consequences where you're much more likely to have things like body dysmorphia if you're a female on social media than males are, right? So if I have to deal with the negative things, then I should use everything I can because social media is already so inherently competitive that just being a female or even if you're considered an attractive female, that's not even enough. So to downplay it, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah, I think my journey with this has really just been first like even being aware of it because when I started being on the internet and I was like 16, 17, I remember all the girls I would look up to and I would do so much makeup, like all these fake eyelash. I would wear giant push-up. I started like wanting to wear push-up bras when I was like 14 because I was like, oh, these girls have boobs. And I remember starting to stream with Alex and now, okay, I've had enough time where I can look back to it and slowly realize it's so sad because getting into it, it was so ingrained to me to appeal to like the male gaze that I was doing it so subconsciously. I didn't even realize it. And now obviously do the same thing. I acknowledge I would not even have any career without my looks and not be where I was. But okay, I have that. But now what are actually the values and the strengths that I see myself outside of my looks that I want to emphasize and not focus so much on looks anymore? But it was so hard to even realizing that I was subconsciously doing it and of course, looking naturally beautiful is going to help your content go more viral and stuff like that. But at least it's not something you're like hyper fixating. It's just, okay, it's a natural thing, but that's not going to be a priority.
But for example, Andrea, to film one short, she goes through like 5 outfit changes.
Yeah, I mean, I have terrible body,
her hair and makeup.
But that's
and like
from
these are
body.
the things that
I hate how I look on camera.
No, but what I'm trying to say is like, there's a price Andrea pays for what she's doing that people don't understand.
Yeah.
And I see it as a double-edged sword, where like certain advantages and certain disadvantages, and you're gonna have that in whatever niche you are in.
Yeah.
In poker, they used to, I don't know if they still do it, but certainly when I was like climbing up through the ranks, the most common thing, like if women in poker were mentioned in the media, it would be, these are the top 10 hottest female poker players.
And they'd be like
rankings. Yeah, which is awful.
Now I hate that so much. Now I can finally be aware. I'm like doing my best to get away from that. Like I never want to do hot girl chest branding again. Like I just, but I didn't even realize it was all happening.
It's so interesting that, because again, it's kind of like one of these like Moloch type traps, where it's like, that it's not really good for you, but at the same time, it's good for your career.
Of course.
Maybe in the short term. And it's so hard to not lean into that stuff.
And it's also, if you don't try, the amount of negative comments towards your appearance.
You can't not look good.
Because then you're getting even more negative
destroyed.
feedback.
Yeah. I think it's just not making your looks your personality, which is like so many people go viral just because of the hot female creator at this game. Like that can't be all you have. Like, cool, your looks helped you get viral, but now like show them everything else you got. Like whatever, we should use that to our advantage, get the discoverability, but then show people you actually have a personality and a sense of humor and interest and try to share those with the world.
Maybe looks help get the click, but your
Exactly. You gotta keep them there for the right reasons. It's fine if they click because they think you're cute, but actually show what else you've got in store.
How much of because you mentioned like the male gaze is the main driving force of this like pressure of women to sort of play up to that role.
Yeah.
How much of it comes from females? I wonder.
Well, appealing to other females, you're saying?
No, as in like...
Or from other girls doing this, so you're doing it too.
Other girls are doing it,
gotcha.
and so you feel like the need to lean into it.
So this is something I was thinking a lot on my recent trip, because I had a lot of time to think. I was working on music. I was just in a random... My favorite artist to look up to is Billie Eilish, one of the most popular artists in the world since she was so young, and she's a young girl. And the coolest thing, and I realized just like having different role models, how much that shifts your perspective. Because again, my role model when I started streaming were like the top e-girls on Twitch, and it's a very different image. And what I thought was so interesting about Billie is that she does all her performances in like giant sports jerseys and basketball shorts, and she'll go on Jimmy Kimmel and wear a giant sweatshirt. And I'm like, I also feel way more comfortable on camera and being myself if I'm more covered up, but I've always felt like it's just not appropriate and like I have to wear tank tops because that's only what I would see other women doing. So I really think like, and it's hard because obviously there's going to be both on the internet. It's just your choice who you're going to look up to. But I think just being aware of it and then finding the proper role models. Like she gave me so much confidence. I'm like, oh, you know, I can do that too and feel comfortable wearing a turtleneck.
It's like
it's fashionable.
It's a permission slip.
Yeah, exactly. It's more effort to look fashionable, but that's not a bad thing. But it's something I didn't even think existed because I saw so few girls dress in that way and still be successful in my field.
For me, I had actually a different experience, and the biggest influence on me trying to look better on camera was actually my sister. Because when I started streaming, like, look, I'll be honest.
You look so beautiful. I loved her, and she's going back to that now.
You like the fact that I had the same tank top in multiple
colors.
Okay.
Okay, she didn't care about. I was saying like when you have your hair in a bun and you have no makeup, I think you look the most beautiful. And I love when she streams again. And now she does a lot of the streams.
And I
but the outfit needed help.
When you're the older sibling and like your super beautiful, cute young sister who's also fashionable and does her makeup and always looks good on camera starts coming, and of course the audience, what it's gonna do is it's gonna constantly compare you.
Right.
And it started actually giving me insecurities that I didn't have before just because I'd be constantly compared. And it put a huge pressure on me to just try harder.
Well, competition, there you go.
Right, but it's not...
And not in a way that I have any negative feelings towards Andrea, but I was just like, I have no choice.
But I felt the same way, which is
crazy. People are going to be constantly commenting and comparing, so like, I need to level up my game.
Well, I do think whenever like we're going out, I'm like, oh, Alex looks so good. I'm like, shit, I need to go change. Or when we're streaming and I'm like, I just want to wear a t-shirt today. And then I see Alex looks so good. I'm like, shoot, she raised the bar. So I mean, so much because we're in each other's environment.
What I love about you guys is that you have such open conversations with each other.
Exactly.
Like, have you ever had moments where you noticed there was like a competition arising where you
we're
then
always
didn't talk
open
about
Always.
it?
I actually don't like competing with Andrea. The funny thing is, like, when we played classical chess this year for the first time, she was way more excited to try to beat me than I was to try to play her.
I'm obviously the underdog. Like, she has nothing to win or lose beating me. I have everything to win and not much to lose.
I don't want to compete with people I like for serious stakes, at least. If it's for fun and it's like something goofy, like if I beat her, she runs around in a little conehead costume. Oh, I love it. But if it's a serious stake, it's hard.
But also, before our last match on Interview, she goes, if it was your dying wish to get a draw against me, I would still not give it to you because of sportsmanship. So, sure.
That's out of respect,
when she shows up to the board, she is stone cold. She's not a human. She's a robot and she has no emotions. So don't listen to any of this.
But again, that's because that's the respect I would want. Like,
and that's how it should be treated.
Is if someone doesn't take you seriously in competition.
But
so that's why
chess competition and social being compared look-wise, I think you're very different. Because one, you can completely separate yourself from, and the other you can't really. We've always been so close, but I also feel like our relationship's been the healthiest the last couple months. We've also been taking less time streaming, and we've always been really open about our body dysmorphia with ourselves, which just makes me feel so much better, because I think my sister is the most beautiful person on the planet.
And I think my sister
and like
is the most
when
beautiful
I hear
person.
the thoughts she has about herself, I'm like, how can you ever, like, she's like, I look so bad in this. I'm like, you look the most beautiful.
Right.
And so like, if she can think that way about herself, like, oh, and she thinks the same. So at least it's like, it's kind of like looking through a mirror, like how people were like, you know, think about the little girl you were when you were 4, and imagine saying to her what you're saying to yourself now, like just how you can talk to yourself, and you're so unaware of it until you see like your mirror image doing it to themselves. It makes you a lot more like, oh, it's right in the face.
It's one of the most powerful exercises
really
you
is.
can do with someone.
Exactly.
It's like, how would you feel if I was talking about myself?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone says that, but you're still like, I'm
actually
always
do
gonna
the
talk shit to
exercise.
myself. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Sure. That 4-year-old little girl, like, she's gone, you know? But when I see my sister doing it, it's different.
That's one thing, you know, I grew up as an only child.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have like a half sister, but she was much, much older. And
Yeah.
I saw her and so on. And like, I never, seeing like the bond that you guys have, it's just like, it's irreplaceable. It's really, it's gorgeous. You made a really amazing video recently, which is about it was like a sort of, there's an analysis of this situation of Dina, the chess player, there was some controversy had come about because she had posted some sort of lingerie, sexy lingerie pictures of her playing chess. It seemed to like really split the chess community, and particularly female chess players. One particular player is Elizabeth Letts.
Elizabeth Pyatt.
Elizabeth Pyatt tweeted saying, "I thought it was hardly possible to even top the latest poll on women's chess. Unfortunately, I was wrong. What a disgrace." So in other words, like she's a GM, right?
Yeah.
And she's presumably a little bit older, but she felt that this was a very bad thing for women's chess. So I'd love to like hear you guys' sort of arguments, because to me it seems like a real dilemma. Like I can see her point of view of why it might be, but I can also totally see the like point of view of like Dina should be free to express herself however she likes, and you know, if she's having fun doing it. And again, it's like this idea of like play to your advantages. So I kind of want to like do an exercise of almost like steel manning both sides to see if we can kind of solve this problem.
That sounds
Yeah.
cool.
Andrea, do you want to start?
You should start, because you made the video, and I have a lot of thoughts, and Dina's close to me, so like I have to really sit and think here.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw both sides. On Dina's end, she actually stopped doing that type of content since. But at the time, as a female content creator, doing that kind of content will be like 95% of your revenue. So when you choose not to do that, you just stop having a salary that you can use. And in terms of individual freedom, I feel like how can you tell someone that they can't do the thing that is going to actually give them stability in their life? That's a very hard thing to ask of people. And then on Elizabeth's side, she's a professional chess player. She's done this her entire life, and she really cares about the image in women in chess. So I can understand that when she sees people going more viral for things like that, she gets upset at it. But the truth is, it's sort of the nature of the beast and the nature of the system. That's always going to be the case, whether women do it or not. And it's not like there was no precedent in the chess world. Alexandra Kostyuk, former female world chess championship for women multiple times, she used to post photos in her bikini playing chess and things like that. One of the sponsors for the women's chess championships was literally a breast augmentation
Just
company.
crazy.
What?
Which is
I don't even understand how that got by. It was
because
insane.
The point is there's so little money
Exactly.
in chess.
It all comes
that
down
people
to money.
They'll take anything they can.
That people will
Yes.
take anything they can. So I didn't see what Dina was doing as different from what we've accepted as a standard in the industry.
Like, I think the problem is so much bigger outside of chess, and I think the thing that Elizabeth probably doesn't even understand, and her argument is completely valid, because you are a role model for other women if you have a platform, no matter what. But it's not the chess world. It's, I think, just the content creator economy. And it's interesting because recently, like, I see a lot of other women kind of like boasting themselves above others because they're like, they'll get comments where they're like, oh, I only respect you because you don't have a link in your bio. You don't do that type of, which is like fine, you know, obviously no, but it's more just like they put down the girls who do. And I know so many of those girls who got into content, started doing like esports, other stuff, rode the economy, did really well, went bankrupt, had literally no choice to make, well, they did, you know, like if you want to be like, they can go get a college degree and go work at McDonald's, that's a fair argument as well. But also what has obviously social media pushed them towards is sexualized content. And that was for them like their only way to make a living. Otherwise they would go broke. They could take other routes. But for them, it's like that is constantly the pressure, and that is how they make it. And that industry is going to grow more and more monetizable. I don't see that going anywhere. It's obviously not ideal. I bet like those girls are also, a lot of them, embarrassed about the content they do. They're not doing it for themselves. They don't feel good about it, but it's the easiest way for them to make a living. So what's the solution?
I do want to add that like Dina is not happy that she did things like that. The craziest thing about Dina is she's actually extremely conservative.
Yes,
like,
she does not like
even
that.
worn a two-piece bikini in public until then. It was just like when you give someone the opportunity to more than 10x their income.
Exactly.
And at the time, she wasn't even thinking about the repercussions properly because she also sees so many other girls doing the same thing. Right. And now she's completely stopped. She's given up all of that, and she's rebranding into like the educational space.
And she's doing a great job.
She was able to do it, but it did make me feel like, wow, like Dina sort of fell into that trap where it's as a female, the only way to sometimes make money in content.
Yeah,
exactly.
I did a sexy like for Loaded magazine years and years ago.
Yeah,
and at the time it was weird because there was actually less reflection and like it was so. This was like 2009. There was less of this dialogue, and I remember there was one older female poker player who was kind of like, you know, she was my mentor, and I remember her being like, she was like, she's like, you're really smart. You could be really good at poker. Do you want to go down this route?
Yeah.
And it didn't even, I was like, I don't know, I just loved looking at sexy pictures of
exactly.
myself so
and
much.
moment,
It made me feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird because now looking back on it, now I'm like kind of in her her point in life, you know, I'm getting older. I look back at those pictures and I'm like, okay, I wouldn't do it again. They're a little bit trashy and like I'm like in a bra, push-up bra, like with a flaming ace and a cigar. But it's like, it's the most cliche thing. I literally have like...
Everyone's going to be searching this up now.
Everyone's going to be looking this up.
I mean, hey. But that's a weird thing. There's still part of me that's like, I don't know, I'm glad I did it. It was my journey, and they're just objectively hot pictures, and I know I still, you know, as one day when I'm like old and fat and wrinkly, I'll be like,
that's the
you know,
thing. I think if people are doing it for the right reasons, where they feel empowering, they're like, I'm never going to look this hot again. I feel good. I want to share it. I understand that. I just think we've fallen into the trap where it's the financial incentives are so
overrides your natural. So that's, I think, the interesting thing with Dina. It sounds like it didn't match her personality. And that's the difficulty. Whereas that did match my personality. I've always been an extrovert. I mean, you see me in Burning Man. I'm crazy. And
you feel comfortable. Yeah, it's so different.
That's my natural way.
Like feeling feminine and free is like so beautiful, but also like realistically, as a female content creator, like that is currently the most lucrative space, and everyone's just getting. So they're so different.
Because I've heard like nightmare stories of like the sort of way women are treated in chess. And in many ways, it sounds way worse than poker. Because there's been plenty of sexism in poker when I'm throughout my career, but it was still clearly like a net positive for me to be a female, and by and large I feel like pro female poker players got the respect they deserved. Do you think, because especially for you, Alex, you've been in both industries now, do you feel like chess, because from what I hear from like my, you know, like Jen Hardy and other female chess players I know, they're like, no, chess is so much worse. The men are much more hostile to women. Have you also found that to be the case, and why do you think it is? Is it because they feel like it's their game and women don't belong in it, or?
What I actually think was the case is that a lot of my chess friends just genuinely didn't respect women that much, to the extent that like they had no close female friends. They think men and women cannot be friends. They look at girls at the chess tournament just to see who they think is cute and who they can hook up with. They say like, oh, I just can't play the same against women, or sometimes they'll even just say, I just don't think women are as naturally as good at men. And these are just inherent beliefs that they hold. And I don't even like get upset at them when I see they do this, because I understand they just grew up with just their gang of guys and having so few women in the space that this is what they do. But I think there is a lot of internalized misogyny in it, and that's something that is deeper than just being harassed, because it's something that people really deeply believe that can start to sink into my psychology just if I have too many friends in the chess scene, for example. But of course, it's changed, and I think nowadays I don't even think I have an accurate perception anymore, because now that we're chess influencers, everybody's nice to us. In poker, everyone wants to take a photo or do something like that. So I don't even understand what the experience is like anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the competitive chess world, women get treated like objects so often. Like Alex said, like I heard so many guys, like the way they talk about a woman in the tournament is not like she's even a competitor. It's just, oh, can you go hook up with her? Because there's literally no girls at that tournament, whatever. And men have a lot of testosterone, and yeah, that's the way of life. But with social media, like I would not want to change it other way. And I'm so happy that I get to be a woman on social media, because I can also like coming back to strengths, like at least you get to show your personality and you get to show a side of you that people in the competitive chess world wouldn't even give you a chance to see.
So value attributes they don't even value
now,
or even have.
They don't even like they don't treat you as a person. Like they don't care about your personality. They just see you for your looks. And I think that's why like now when there's so many strong female chess creators like Anna Kramling or our friends, we just literally hosted a tournament for all of them, and they get to be assessed as people and like their content. Like Jules, our roommate Jules Gambit, she has like these super creative skits and shorts, and I think she's one of the funniest chess players out there. And now girls have an outlet to show like this is actually what we are valued as. So I'm super happy about what social media is doing for chess. I don't know if it's probably a different story for the young girls who are purely in competitive chess, but at least there's way more exposure and now you're treated more diverse.
I will say a lot of people in the chess world, they call us like the chess whores or something like that.
What?
Like
But that's the chess world.
That's the chess world. Like,
those are chess players, not chess viewers or the audience.
It's like friends of friends.
For me, they're not the audience anymore. Like I don't even give a shit about.
I don't care, but I know that's how. But that's
but that's because they're so ingrained in the competitive world, and they're upset that we're successful.
I'm also so numb. Like none of this bothers.
Yeah, I feel the same.
I didn't know.
Did you ever have the one like
I don't even care.
The one that would drive me mad in poker is I would get given a hard time for dating a poker player or two.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, how many poker players has she dated?
Who else are you supposed to meet? This is your life.
I was like,
and what
yeah, exactly. Like, where else am I meant to?
Yeah, this is your work.
I'm like, I'm traveling around. Am I going to date like a guy who works in a bank?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're only going to meet poker people.
So obviously that you want to date someone who has the same lifestyle as you. But also, I was in the poker world for like 12, 13 years.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like, I could be a fucking nun and still only date like one or two, three people.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And I always, that double standard was always so insane. And then it's like, the one that always makes me laugh is when they're like, oh my God, yeah, she's like, these girls, they're such whores. And then they try and hook up with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
That's why I don't value the opinion I value is like actually the people who like see me as a person, enjoy our content, and usually the really conservative elitist chess players like don't even know anything about us. They've just seen like photos of us on the internet, and they just don't know you as a person.
Is there a generational gap? Do you notice the difference between the way the older chess players view you guys versus
100%.
the like more ones of your generation?
I also think it's more the elites versus the casual players. I think that's the bigger gap.
But
and it also makes sense because
well.
the people who try to make chess their life, most people are going to have a really difficult time because it's just such a tough career. And when you see people who are not even as good as you are at chess doing so well, I think it can stem a lot more out of jealousy.
Yeah. It's 100% out of jealousy, which makes sense.
Versus a casual player who hasn't dedicated that much time. They just like chess and they're like, oh, these people make it fun. That's great.
Yeah, because that's maybe why poker's not been as bad because there's more abundance.
I was going to say there's more money in poker and there's
certainly
more
back
money
then.
in chess.
There was more sponsorship deals. Men were getting sponsorship deals more easily.
Yeah.
Yes, women like me who hadn't won as much as perhaps other men would get big ones. But like there was enough. Like the pie was so big and the pie was growing as well.
Yep.
Has that has the pie grown at all with chess? Like presumably that's the funny thing. Is like you guys and so many others you've made chess popular in ways that it probably wouldn't have been. Also, you had the Queen's Gambit, which was probably like amazing timing. But yeah, finding ways to create more abundance for the people who are like the grinders, essentially, is probably a way to like take away that like any bitterness that some people might feel.
The pie has grown a lot since 2020, but I think a lot of that is towards people who do things like education and higher level tournaments. You know, they'll still increase the prize fund, but if you're, let's say, like a grandmaster who's ranked 1,000 in the world, you're not going to be winning as many of these top prizes. So like, and a lot of these top grandmasters, they don't even like teaching people. So there might be more people who are interested in chess, more ways to monetize chess as a market, but less so as a purely competitive thing.
Imagine being so skilled that you are one of the top grandmasters at chess and using that skill only for one game. And of course, ideally, there would be more money in competitive chess and you're spending 20, 30 years just studying this one game. But the truth is, in today's economy, you need more skills. There's educational platforms. You want to teach people, cool. If you're entertaining, work on content. But of course, the ideal solution is put more money in competitive chess, but that's not going to happen. So if you're really good at chess, you also need to find another strength to play to monetize. But
it's interesting that like the number one by such a large margin, Magnus, has also sort of built this kind of empire around various other things. You know, he. Do you think it's because that's just his personality, or is it because he did so well in chess that he had the breathing room to do that? Because I wonder, like, if you're like number 10, you're so in the shit in terms of like having to keep training,
doing other things.
Right.
Well, Magnus is arguably one of the greatest chess players in history, and he's been number one for so long. There's even a huge difference between number 1 and number 2 when it's a competitive sport. So I think it was because he was the best for so long, and that branding is so strong. And I think he also built a really good team around him. Like, he's been doing a lot of chess companies. He likes fantasy sports. And one of the things he's launching next is like fantasy chess and things like that. So I think it's a mix.
And I also think like the sad thing, I mean, Magnus just has a personality for it. Like someone who you were interested in, you want to follow. And since he stopped playing in the World Chess Championship, like people don't even know who's competing. The person who won last year, I personally don't know a thing about him as a person otherwise than his chess skills. I mean, that also shows a lot about like the people who regularly do succeed at chess. But I think he was an outlier. And like the few big personalities in chess, like let's say like Hans Niemann, everyone knows his name. And he's top 10 now, almost top 10. No, top 100. That's what I meant to say. He's top 100, but he has the drive to get top 10. Everyone's gonna know his name because he is such a big personality. But like 99% of the pool, they don't market themselves as a personality. It's like any sport.
Why? Because one of the things that I think that makes poker so popular when it's on TV is the
personality.
But specifically the trash talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you guys are like some of the best on earth at trash talking, which is incredible.
It's a big compliment.
No, it is high praise because it's Igor and I joke that is literally our love language. You know, some people their love language is touch or acts of service. Ours is smack talk.
Yeah.
And you guys have that so well.
Yeah.
So, at the same time, why aren't chess players using that? Because like Magnus, I played poker against him. Like we during the COVID, we would have like this like weekly lockdown game. Various people, and Magnus would sometimes join. He's one of the best trash talkers I've ever seen. So why in a classical game are players? Why is that not like an established thing that players do? Why is it always so silent?
Simple answer, you can't talk in tournaments. It's a silent
rule.
It's a rule by FIDE, the International Chess Federation.
Has to be silent. Like you don't hear a single thing in the tournament hall.
That's why when you stream or it's casual, you're allowed to do it.
And that's why that's something I loved when Alex was getting into poker content. I was like, wow, these like celebrity poker not even celebrity, but like Hustler, where it's just such an amazing format because you're really competitive, you're playing this game, but also you're constantly hearing conversations. And I wish chess more often had that duality, but competitive chess is not that world. It is a silent world.
So that's really, I'm surprised it's been remained so rigid.
Well, that's why chess streaming popped off because people started playing blitz games and talking to people, and it was such a novel idea.
Because like with poker over the years, like poker has like been very sort of flexible in terms of when whole card cameras first came along with technology, then like someone did that and it was like, oh wow, this opens up the game to like casual observers on TV, and then others, then people started adding graphics and like different, because it was different companies putting on the different tournaments. You had like World Poker Tour competing against European Poker Tour, against World Series of Poker. There was kind of this iterating process, and no sort of really centralized figure that could say, no, this is the way poker has to be played. Now, as it is, like the rules would generally be pretty much identical between the different tours, but there would still be some variation in terms of how much speech play is allowed, and certainly TV games, they would encourage it. But I wonder if that's why chess has actually struggled so much in terms of almost like stagnation, because you have FIDE, right? This is this like the centralizing God on high. This is the way it has to. The World Championships will always be classical this time, and there is no speaking allowed. Has anyone ever tried to like create an alternative to FIDE?
I mean, chess.com is sort of that, and they used to try to organize matches with like open mic and stuff like that. I just think it gets really intense at a certain level, and chess players.
What do you mean by intense?
Intense, like chess players will always be purists at the end of the day when trying to figure out who is the best in the world. So there will be willing to do trash talk for matches that are casual, but once it starts being tied to your ranking and your elo, I think it's just too hard to let loose like that.
Yeah, I think the closest middle ground to making chess more marketable in that sense, like middle ground from FIDE, which is what all the top chess players, a lot of streamers have been advocating for, is just shorter time control, because then the games are more digestible, they're faster, maybe you have time for other stuff, but like regular chess has always been several hours. That is the FIDE classic, like 3-4 hour games. So hopefully even maybe the more speed chess comes into play, like that could even change the structure so much.
Or when it's not with top players, like when you put creators to play chess,
or
they're doing
people
bits
who
during
share
the game
other
and
stuff.
things like that. And
like
chess.com held this tournament where we just bring in creators, teach them how to play chess, and then they'd be doing hilarious things during the game, and that would sometimes get more views than the highest level chess for the entertainment value reason.
Yeah, I wonder again if, because with poker it's so hard to ever know who is the best in the world, because it's like all this variance. There's so many different formats, and there's no like one pure format of poker. And so it's not had that sort of constraint, essentially.
Exactly.
That people just, it's more like who wins the most money. That's the real objective, or who's like played the sickest move. But chess, it's like it's very clear to know who is the best.
There's also just so much more downtime and variance in poker and chess. Like you can spend, like I would be so stressed if there was a mic during chess game, because like you can spend every minute calculating. In poker, if you've decided you're folding your hand, like, okay, you're just sitting out. You don't have to think about anything. There's no new cards on the table. In chess, you can literally never stop thinking about your move. So that'll never change.
Yeah, you don't have a free second.
Yeah, so I think that's just inherently how the games are different.
Other than if you're resting your brain, I guess.
Yeah. What's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you during the game?
Oh, the guy next to me died.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Actually,
how you had to think, you know?
Because I blocked it out because it was kind of traumatic.
Did he have like a stroke? Or?
Yeah, I mean, he was an old.
This has happened like a couple times recently. It's really, really sad.
Yeah, no, it was sad. His opponent gave him a draw, but he was an older man.
Wait, what do you mean his opponent gave him a draw and then he died after the draw?
No, he died, and to not get a win, he just had his last game be a draw.
Do you think the guy wanted that? I wonder. I think he was a competitive chess player.
Oh my God.
Before he standing up, no.
I always wonder, like, do you think them thinking so intensely is what triggers like their stroke, or no? Because I'd be so sad to die from playing chess.
I'm guessing you're pretty high risk at a certain age.
Maybe it's just chance and unrelated, but imagine like thinking so hard about a move. That's such a sad way to die.
No, it was an older gentleman. It was definitely just probably gonna happen at some point.
I've actually seen someone have no, he was in the audience. He wasn't playing poker. I've seen someone have like a cardiac event, but
okay, mine was a little. Andrea, do you have a better one?
I mean, mine aren't that interesting. Like
that's hard to talk.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of fun. Like I'll go to the bathroom and someone slide me their business card, or like be like, it'll be like a chess fan. Like we're in the middle of the suburb in Poland, and like they spent like 3 hours waiting. They're like, we're hosting a party and we really hope you come. And I'm like, I'm probably not going to come but thanks for the invite. I just know chess players like really shy, and I just think it's funny, but I've never had anything crazy happen. Just funny to get interrupted in your game, and that speaks to how boring the game is, because there's not anything that really happens because you can't talk to anyone or do anything.
Do you think you'll ever go back to competitive chess?
We did.
Right, you
For many months. We did together. We were playing 3 months in a row. We were streaming every day, like streaming 10 hours of chess a day, just playing chess tournaments. And
it was more like 6 hours.
Okay, to me it felt really, really long. So yeah, 6 hours.
No, we did start playing.
Some days were
the only thing is that now just grinding chess for the sake of competitive isn't even as enticing to me, because there's no reason to do it. I'm more excited about other things. Like, I'd rather figure out content we really enjoy working on. So I don't think I would ever seriously get into competitive chess again. And this year was the closest that we did.
I think the answer is exactly what we did, which is like this hybrid competitive chess tournament, but you also bring personalities. So on free days, downtime, you're making content about it, you're doing blitz matches, it's more dynamic. But the truth is, like, at least for me, to actually feel good about playing these tournaments, I need to be putting in proper time to study, because I need to compete with the people who are doing this for school, for like the young kids who are preparing 6 hours for a match, and meanwhile I'm streaming, I'm filming, I don't have time.
Playing a DJ gig,
yeah, it's like I just can't like justify the time to study for a chess game, and like it's just time input does not equal output. But if you're competing with also creators and you're doing more at the tournament, 100%.
What's the next 3 years for you both? If it all goes 90th percentile.
Next 3 years, I'm not sure. Well, one, I've been working on a new chess game that's going to come out at some point next year, and I'm really excited about that. So definitely dipping my toes back into entrepreneurship.
Can you say what it's called?
We're not public about what it's called yet.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm really
working
excited
for many years on this. So
yeah,
it's very exciting.
But also, Andrea and I are starting to work on content together that is not as chess focused. That's more personality content, and really trying to go back to making creative things that we truly enjoy. So we're going to go to Formula One tomorrow. We are going to do a vlog of our experience while also figuring out ways to package it, but actually enjoy filming the content.
Yeah, I think this is our year of being reborn. And I think what was so interesting about our side channels, Alex made a side channel for poker, and that's what motivated me to want to take music more seriously. So then it was funny because we were not competing with each other, but we're oh, Alex is getting 200K views. So I worked harder on my DJ, and it was really nice because it was the first time in our lives where we were doing something completely unrelated to chess, and it was actually averaging more than our chess content. And I was like, Alex, this is the biggest sign that people are just interested in us, and chess is always going to be a part of us. I always want to do something to do with chess, but people are interested in us for our personalities now more than chess, and that's a great sign because we can do whatever we're interested in if it's good content. And I love, I've been just filming everything. I love storytelling, and it's fun because we're in a playful state again where we're just capturing everything, figuring out, doing all the podcasts, figuring out what is content we want to make that we would enjoy. Of course, still being aware of trends and doing that, but I hope we're going to find a balance of that, and then occasionally really high quality chess content, and then whatever other passion projects are.
Of course, chess will always still be a part, but we're giving ourselves a space. And the other big thing we're realizing is there's content we want to do together and content we want to do separately. So we have a lot of really honest conversations, because sometimes one of us is more excited about something than the other one. So we're just figuring out how to navigate that.
Yeah, what do you do when there is a conflict, or there will be probably at some point where you're actually going to be no, I'm going, you do go in separate ways. Have you sort of already started having meta conversations about when to, what you would want to do? Do you have in your mind how you would examine whether you're at that stage?
We just talk about it all the time. I know Andrea's going to want to do music for a long time. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to want to branch out, but I know a lot of it right now is exploration. So it's more just we're taking it day by day. Because what I realized, it's so hard to be I want to do this 3 years in the future when I don't know what I want to do today. So it's more do my best each day and make sure it's authentic and that we're enjoying and we're making progress.
Yeah. Communication is key.
Yeah.
And authenticity.
Yes. We're very transparent. And I think the hardest thing in the past was when one of us would feel we're working a lot on together content, but the other is not focusing as much. And it was so hard if we both, Alex did a lot of poker, I'm at music, it's easy for the other person to feel that way. So I think now when we have an idea, we're both excited about it. We just make sure like we're in it together, we're working on this together. And if we want to do something separate, that's fine. Just communicate that. And so we're equally putting in effort and feel fair.
Or sometimes we'll bring each other in. Like Andrea started going on this podcast she likes, and she brought me in.
Yeah,
And I was
that's
like,
the best
hey, you
part.
should come on this podcast with Liv. So whenever
It's nice to venture too, because sometimes it's like, oh, you found something you really like. Cool, let's upgrade it now and do it together too.
But the best part is like we're genuinely just really excited to work with each other, and we're not doing it because we have to or because we've built a brand together. It's out of excitement.
Amazing. All right, so I like to finish up every episode. It's a new bit I'm doing.
Hell yeah.
We love bits.
Again, as I said, inspired by you guys to have more bits.
Yeah,
More
let's see
things.
it.
So it's a series of rapid fire predictions where you basically, I want you to don't think, thinking about like intuition versus thinking, just whatever your gut instinct is, what first percentage pops into your head. Percentage. So the way we're gonna do this is, I think both of you just say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1. I don't know if it's gonna work. We're gonna
Before
try.
we do this, I just want to say Alex is a god with numbers, percents. She and my dad win every bet in our family. I got my mom's genes. I'm terrible with numbers, so just gonna be off on everything, but that's fine.
This is all subjective. So there's not like a calculation. It's literally just like, I'm gonna give you like a prediction. You just have to give your prediction. Like, it's basically a confidence.
Okay.
Like if you're not very confident, then it's probably gonna be like 10%, whatever.
Got it.
Okay.
Is this like when you and Igor talked about likelihood you guys are together?
Exactly. So that's in the direction of that. Have you seen?
I have saw the
Okay,
clip,
okay.
yes. I was showing my friend who does YouTube. I was like, yeah, like I met this I love this woman. I met her at Burning Man. We pulled the first clip and he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I've had enough. Because he works on like viral YouTube content, has never seen this side of the internet. But I was like, this is the coolest shit ever. I was like, I love this so much. I loved it.
I'm genuinely
I
shocked.
target audience.
So funny.
Yeah, I just genuinely shocked by his number. Like, that was not,
No, I love this concept. This is a great
his number
concept.
82% that we'd be together in 10 years.
And what was yours?
Like 94 or 95.
Oh.
It's like, well, we've already been together for 10 years. It seems more likely we'll stay together for another 10 years. But he was like, well, but my priors and I did a baby and update. I'm like, oh my God.
I love that.
Ugh.
People should do that more often. I bet they'd
He'd
find
make
out a lot of
great
stuff.
Oh yeah.
in another world. He actually is terrible at chess.
I think he'd get bored of the time he needs to put into the game.
I don't know. I mean, you should have seen, like, talk about, like, being more. That's the thing, to be great at a game.
I
you
just
have to
think
be
he's so good at other things that are maybe more interesting than chess.
Maybe, but at the same time, you guys, you found chess fascinating once upon a time.
I did start when I was 6 though. Like I didn't know what else was
That's the
interesting.
thing.
when I started.
That's the hard thing. You gotta like dedicate.
That's
so
the
much
big
time.
difference. Like,
Yes.
chess players start so young. Like,
Yes.
poker, I
Like
didn't learn
any-
to play until I was 21. It's very different.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this. So yeah, basically, I'll count you in like 3, 2, 1, and you both give your number, and hopefully the mics can discern between them. Okay, percentage likelihood that Botez Live is still going in 5 years' time.
50.
Whoa.
I mean, I think we're so much on the same page, and yeah, that's funny. We're like we've talked about this so many times.
Okay, I want to.
It's all up to chance.
This is insane. Okay, percentage likelihood that Botez Live is still going in 10 years' time.
20.
Wow, you guys are calibrated. Okay.
I could see it, but it would be more like a
It'd be
mix
like
of
occasional,
things,
yeah. I just think in 10 years we're gonna be such different lives.
Yeah.
I expect we'll be.
But I know we'll still do sister vlogs. So it's like,
Yeah.
will it be on this channel? Will it be separate? Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, you have 1.7 million subs now. Percent likelihood that you'll have over 10 million subs in 5 years.
10.
5.
I was almost gonna go lower than 10, but I wanted to be optimistic. But again, we know what it takes to get
I
there.
think we'll get 10 mil together, but
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's on this channel.
It's not gonna
Right.
be this, yeah, because we both know that we have content greater than Botez
Yeah,
Live,
yes.
which is chess content.
Yeah, I think the likelihood that you collectively have over 10 mil is like.
Yeah, I
It's
would
different.
put that
Side
really
channel
high.
different, yeah.
But if it's particularly on
Just
this
Botez
channel,
Live,
I'm
we
not
know
sure.
how we,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Likelihood that a woman wins the Chess World Championship within 25 years.
5.
10.
Okay. Likelihood that a woman gets into the top 10 ratings within 10 years.
50. 15?
I said
15. What, top 10
Top 10.
in 10 years?
Yeah.
You really don't think in 10
No,
years?
I just think there's a lot fewer women who play chess.
Yeah, I just feel like there's going to be one amazing breakthrough woman who is going to get there.
Okay, this is Eagle's question.
I would put that if it was a bigger timeline. I just need to think like who are the people who 15 years from now will be that good, and I'm not sure if there's any yet that I would put higher than that.
What about the little girl in England? She's Indian.
Yeah. She's really good, but it's just so early. It's hard to tell. It's like even if we're
So much can happen.
So much can happen.
When you go through puberty, you just like so much can change.
Yeah.
Especially for girls. Actually, yeah. Okay, this is Igor's question, so it's likelihood that another variant than classical chess, for example, with shorter time control or something like Fischer Random, becomes as or more relevant in the next 10 years.
60.
10, and I think it's the game we're building.
Wait, that low?
Well, I mean, to be as big as chess,
Yeah.
because I could see our game like developing into something that is different than chess.
Oh,
So
because you said
like,
short. I was thinking like blitz chess, like 3 minute, 5 minute
You
chess.
think that's going to become the main thing?
I think that's what it's steering to already, based on the personalities in chess. But maybe they're just more outspoken than actual chess players. So.
Okay. Likelihood that Andrea plays a venue, DJs a venue with more than 20,000 people in the next 2 years.
100.
You've not done it already, have you?
No, not 20K, but
I love it. Though.
I know I'm playing a festival next year already, so it's gonna happen.
Can you
we
say
don't have
which?
that many people.
Festivals are huge.
Huge.
So
Yeah,
and they're like
like
20 to 60K. So like
Oh.
next year I'm playing.
I
Festival.
didn't know
It's not
how
like
big
a
the
one.
venue was.
Yeah, like your average festival, like you can have like 40,000 people in the crowd, so 20,000 will be there.
Okay. Likelihood that Alex wins a WSOP bracelet in the next 10 years.
50?
5.
That was off. I think that if Alex really wanted to do it, she could absolutely. I think 10 years is a lot. It's more just a question of whether poker will be her passion or not.
That's
That's
the
the
question for me
factor.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is a spicy one. Likelihood that Hans Niemann cheated versus Magnus.
10.
Same question, but likelihood that he used anal beads specifically.
100.
We both know it's not true, but we both know it's zero.
But we like.
We have the same sense of humor, bro. It's hilarious.
Amazing. Final question: which one of you is the better trash talker?
She really well. I mean, she can just trash talk because she wins more. Like, you can't trash talk when you're the worst player to the same extent. Because it's just not the same, because it's embarrassing. I mean,
I get a deep
and she
pleasure out of
gets,
trash talk.
she's
Like
a whole
I've
other
started reeling
monster.
myself in because I'm not trying to get canceled online. But if I'm trash talking
Yeah.
people and there's no cameras, it's way worse.
Yeah, no.
She's
crazy.
One of the videos I saw was one you were like in some cash tourney where like you end up getting put against Hikaru, and in one of the early games you win, and you went, "Ha! Tricked you, bitch!"
I love those Alex.
I rewatched it like 10 times. I'm not kidding. I was crying. I'm like, you have to come see this.
When-
It's like.
It's so
I
funny.
saw
It's so funny.
It's like
the demon in your eyes.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not even. I don't think it was against Hikaru, but it was
No,
against
it's
the
someone else.
grandmaster.
It's a GM, yeah. You
I
crushed
wish it was
There's like some
Hikaru.
demon that comes outside of me, and sometimes I hear what I said, and I'm like, what the fuck did I just say?
No, I get it. Like that's how I like. It's,
Those are my favorite Alex
They're
moments.
so
much.
good, and it's so sexy. It's
I
like
think they're
the best.
pure comedy.
Yes, it's like it's high art. That's
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's not really in my control. It just happens. So, and again, I think it is because of our dad that all that came about.
Our dad also, like, would not make me cry, but like I would get so pissed. And even as an adult, so, like one time he was playing on a friend's.
Oh my God,
he
this
had
is so funny.
100% a very skilled chess player playing on his account, and he kept challenging me while I'm streaming. He's like shit talking me in the ground, and I was getting so riled up. I was like, it's not even you, but he's so annoying.
And I tried to provoke her.
cheeses
She's
it.
like, no, don't even talk. Don't even
I
talk
get
to me. She
so
just had to
tilted
walk
playing
off.
with her and my dad, and she has my dad trash talks. Anyone who meets him, he's like, I get it now.
And I
She
just think
loves
it's
it.
harder for Andrea because when you're younger, it's hard to trash talk the big dogs as much. So I
It
think
is.
it's really just the older sibling advantage.
Yeah.
well, as you say, we started this with the correct amount of evil.
Yes.
Zero.
Exactly.
should
You
be
need a little,
solved.
but with Steve, the value of
But just
good
like that,
versus
I think
evil.
we all have a demon inside of us a little bit, and
Of course.
that's why I think games are actually so important. because they are a way for us to like be in touch with that little part of ourselves. And we all have it in different ways. And some people have it very little, but clearly like you and I both have this thing. And it's a way to actually channel that into something that's just actually positive. You know, it's a way to get it out. And so like, yeah, that's, some people like don't get why people get so obsessed with competitive games. It's like, no, it's
I don't get how people don't get obsessed with competitive games.
Thank you guys.
This was so much fun.